Walusimbi Abdulhafidh ni mzaliwa wa Uganda. Ana shahada ya uzamivu katika sheria ya Kiislamu na kwa sasa ni mkuu wa idara ya sheria katika chuo kikuu cha Kiislamu nchini Uganda. Dr. Walusimbi ameshiriki makongamano mbalimbali ya kimataifa yanayohusu masuala ya dini, nchi na mifumo ya kitaifa ya Kiislamu, haki za binadamu, ulinganishi na sheria za kimataifa. Dr. ameandika na kuchapisha makala katika maeneo ya migogoro ya viasili vya upini, yaani DNA, sheria ya kimataifa, haki za binadamu na masuala ya wanawake. Dr. pia ni mdau mkubwa katika utetezi dhidi ya unyanyasaji wa kijinsia na kuvumiliana baina ya dini. Dr. Walusimbi atakuwa anawasilisha mada isemayo uchambuzi wa historia ya Mama Khadija kama mama, mke mwema na mfanya biashara. I believe it should be in Swahili also. In English. But His Excellency the President Museveni speaks good Swahili. Is that so? Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Dr. Walusimbi.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وقد كان في قصصهم عبرة لأولي الألباب ما كان حديثا يفترى ولكن تصديق الذي بين يديه وتفصيل كل شيء وهدى ورحمة لقوم يؤمنون. Respected brothers and sisters, I bring to you a salutation from the people of Uganda on their behalf and on my own behalf. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When I was giving this presentation, I almost intended to make it in Swahili. But I remembered that when we are in Uganda, we were told that Kiswahili was born in Tanzania, it fell sick in Kenya, and it died in Uganda. So I decided not to speak to you then in Swahili, and I prefer that I should make this presentation in English. Please bear with me for these 2 minutes which have been allocated to me. I was assigned the topic, the insight of the biography of al-Mu'mineen Khadija as a mother, as a wife, and as a businesswoman. In the beginning of my presentation, I want to start with a quotation. One of the scholars said, "Man arada an yahdima hawara, fa'alayhi bithalatha wasa'id." In a person who wants to destroy a civilization, it takes 3 channels. Al-Usra, that is the family, and specifically it targets the mother. At-Ta'lim, that is the educational system, and specifically it targets the Walim, Al-Mu'allim. And the third, al-Mathal al-A'la, the role model. You are all aware that today our family setup is having a lot of challenges. And these challenges are because of many factors. But one of the major factors is because the woman, specifically the mother, is at the forefront of the target from our enemies. The woman of the 21st century is facing a lot of challenges. First of all, she had been told to go out and work. But at the same time, she has a responsibility at home as the mother of the nation. So balancing between the two has always been a very big challenge. Brothers and sisters in Islam, I am so privileged this afternoon to bring to you the story of a great lady in the history of Islam, in the names of Khadija al-Mu'mineen, who balanced between being a mother, being a wife, and being a businesswoman. I have a strong belief that this kind of topic is of a great interest to our dear sisters who happen to be among the professionals. Because these are the challenges that they face. You are a professional, you are an engineer, you are a medical practitioner, you are a teacher, but at the same time, you are required to fulfill marital and home obligations. The role model of Khadija is the solution that I am personally convinced that it is the one which is going to give you the way forward. Having said that, you know that woman's status in Islam is one of the misconceptions. The enemies of Islam have always come up with this kind of misconception to show that Islam as a religion has not emancipated, has not empowered the woman. But when we read the story of Khadija, a lady who lived in the 7th century, we are satisfied, we are contented that our faith of Islam really gave the woman enough to decide her destiny, to be a leader in her own setting, and to do whatever she can do, as long as she does that with integrity, with development, and so on and so forth. The biography of Khadija is not only beneficial to our Muslim sisters, but some of the issues that we are going to look at, they are also going to help us as the Muslim fraternity, as the Muslim group, so that we can go back and see how can we make our families better? How can we improve on the way how we are rearing our children? I am so lucky that the topic that has just come before me was talking about integrity. It was talking about moral values. Here is a model. Here is a role model that we can follow, that we can emulate, so that we can see our families well arranged, well organized, so that we can be the best family in this 21st century. But how I wish that this topic was presented by me. Because you know, as Allah said, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن رَّسُولٍ إِلَّا بِلِسَانِ قَوْمِهِ لِيُبَيِّنَ لَهُمْ. I think it would have been better that the topic about Khadija is presented by a lady, so that she can speak to fellow ladies and women can sit somewhere so that we can appreciate what she's presenting. But nevertheless, let us go. in Uswaji. There is, as we look at the lineage of the Prophet ﷺ and the lineage of Khadija, at a certain moment they meet in their grandfather Ismail. So there is no doubt that she was coming from such a noble family. Her roots are so strong. But a lesson that we pick out of this, that despite the fact that she was coming from a noble family, she was down to earth. She was humble. She didn't have any kind of ego, any kind of arrogance. How I wish that women who have reached a certain status in community would appreciate that reaching that far doesn't mean that you're proud, that you brag around, that you don't draw closer to the common people. This is the example that we can get out of Khadija. When you look at Khadija, and the way how she used to humble herself, you can make a conclusion. As human beings, we might not be interested in your social status. We are not interested in how much you have in terms of money, how vast, how big is your business empire. Our concern is, how do we benefit humanity? Because Khadija, having been among the successful business women, coming from such a noble family, at the same time she was so closer to those who are in need. And this is an example that we should give all of us so that our families can be role models in this sector. Let us look at the socio-economic environment in Makkah by that time. I don't want to go into the history details, but you know that Arabia, you know that Makkah was the central business district in Arabia. It was the one which was connecting trade caravans to Yemen, to Syria, as it was brought out in Quran. The Ilaf al-Quraysh, the Ilaf al-Shidaki was 5 until the end of this chapter. It is within this business economic environment that Khadija is operating. It is within this business environment, which was so much dominated by men, that Khadija raised up. Can really appreciate how strong Khadija was. At the time when the society was not recognizing the woman, at the time when a young child was being buried alive, Khadija passes through all this, and she comes out very clear, standing out of the crowd as a successful businesswoman. But at the same time, much as Khadija was a successful businesswoman, to an extent that she was called the Sayyida of Quraysh, she was called the Princess of Mecca, she never sacrificed her moral values. She never sacrificed her integrity. What lesson do we take from that? Muslim women, you can do well at all levels, but also keeping your Islamic identity. You can progress in your profession, but at the same time, not throwing away your Islamic identity. When I am making such presentation, especially on integrity, on moral values, it reminds me of the lion's commitment. We know that the lion is the king of the jungle. And in one of its commitments, it says, no matter how bad the economy is, no matter how bad the economy is, I don't eat grass. It is not about pride, but this is what I am. This is a call to all of us, that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us advancement in certain levels, in our respective professions, we should always carry on with our Islamic identity. But at the same time, I want to turn to you, gentlemen. If Khadija managed to succeed in such an environment that was anti-woman, the challenge comes to us. To a great extent, we are the ones in charge of these professional bodies. to prove her worth? To what extent have we made life easier for her so that she can also make her own contribution to society? This is yet another challenge that comes to us. Ladies and gentlemen, having shared with you that background, allow me to share with you Mama Khadija as a wife. We know that history tells us that she was engaged in 2 marriages before she could join the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She first got married to a businessman, a merchant in Makkah by the name of Abdulhafidh, and Allah blessed the couple with 2 children. But after a small time, Abdulhafidh passed on. After passing on, through the help of her father as a guardian, she managed to win another man by the name of Atid. Atid was also another businessman who didn't live for a long time. He also passed on, and therefore she became double widowed. Look at such challenges. How did Khadija pass through all this? And what are some of the lessons that we learn from that as Muslim women of this century? Number 1, Muslim women should not prioritize the economic endeavors above and at the expense of their natural goal of getting married. You know, in our communities, some women, when they happen to get some money, they go with marriage. This is not Khadija. Khadija was not going into marriage because she was looking for dependence. No, she had the money. She had the wealth. But she was appealing to her natural goal of being a mother. That is one of the reasons. But I also want to turn to us men that it is our responsibility to conduct, to carry out our role as guardians. I am convinced that this is one of the forgotten obligations. We have sent our daughters to go to school, and alhamdulillah, that is good. Our daughters now can go as far as university, as far as first degree, second degree, third degree. But we don't follow them. We are not assisting them to choose their suitable partners. But when we look at the example of Khadija, much as she was coming from a noble family, which was having a lot of wealth, but still she was moving hand in hand with her father, and the father was carrying out his role as a guardian. I am convinced that once we do that, inshallah, our families shall go back to the rest. Having looked at that, as a double widow, she now gets into the hands of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But look at the process. How I wish that our Muslim women of this century could critically look at the process through which Khadija passed through in order to get married to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is a detailed process, but the summary of it is that first, the news about Muhammad's integrity, Muhammad's truthfulness, Muhammad's moral character was going around in Arabia. So she called him to Abdulhafidh and appointed him as an agent in her business. And Muhammad started going to Syria with Maisa, and Maisa was bringing some good information. And I think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows better. Maybe Khadija, based on that feedback, that integrity that she had about Muhammad, and she developed interest into getting married to him. But even when she gets interested, still she's adhering to her moral character as a woman. She gets to her close friend, that is Nafisa, and she consults her. Nafisa approves the plan, and when the plan is approved, after that, Nafisa volunteers to take the proposal to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was by that time 25 years, and Khadija had clocked 40 years. Muslim ladies, you can pursue whatever you want in life. led her to marriage to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. What are some of the lessons? Number one, Muslim women have to learn the approach of testing the water levels before stepping in it. You have just met someone, maybe on campus, maybe in certain commercial transactions. You meet him today to exchange contacts. Next week you have an appointment. Next week you express your interest in marriage. The other week you want to take him home. Next month it is a wedding. My dear, how do you trust that person? Look at Khadija. By appointing Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to be an agent in trade, she was closely monitoring his integrity. And this is confirming the fact that integrity and honesty in business has a strong correlation and relationship with success in marriage. In order to confirm that, go to Surah Al-Qasas, whereby one of the daughters of Shu'aib says, قالت يا أبا استأجره إن خير من استأجرت القوي الأمين. Then the response comes, إني أريد أن أنكحك إحدى ابنتي هاتين على أن تأجرني ثمانية حجج. There is always a relationship between the man's honesty in business and success in marriage. So Khadija has seen Muhammad with this kind of honesty in trade, and therefore is a trustable person. How I wish that this generation would learn that kind of approach before rushing to concluding that this is Mr. Right, this is the best, and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, it also gives us a lesson that it's not all about how much the husband is possessing in terms of material. Muhammad was not doing so well in terms of money, in terms of wealth. But Khadija trusted him because of his integrity. And this is also confirming the prophetic hadith, إِنْ جَاءَهُمْ مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَخُلْقَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ. A message goes to us as the family heads, the father and the mother. The prophet says, إِنْ جَاءَهُمْ مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَخُلْقَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ. When a certain man comes to you and you are satisfied or contented with his moral integrity, with his religious devotion, don't have a second thought. That's how we do. Give him a hand in marriage. If you don't do that, someone will have to take that from a certain career. It's going to be a lot of disaster. It's going to be a lot of loss in our communities. I have already said that Khadija balanced between her modesty and her need for marriage. Sometimes women do a lot of bad things in the name of winning a man. That is not Khadija. And finally at this point, Khadija entrusts her proposal to Nafisa. It goes back to us. Who is your friend? Can you be trusting her over such a sensitive matter? This is what we can learn out of the history of our beloved woman, Khadija radiallahu anha. After marriage, here comes a challenge. Should she continue as a successful businesswoman now? Or she should concentrate on bringing happiness to her home? After marriage, Khadija seemed to have lost interest in business ventures. She preferred that she should secure the happiness of her husband. That's why we find her playing emotional roles, physical roles, and giving financial support to the progress of the da'wah. You know how much she was there. Khadija was an eyewitness when Islam was being revealed to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You know her role? Emotionally, she confronted the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You remember that event when the Prophet was wandering around and then he saw Jibreel, and then he rushed back home saying that Zamiluni, Zamiluni, cover me, cannot be prayed. This cannot be from Satan. From the Arabic version says, إِنَّكَ لَتَصْلُ الرَّحِيمِ. You are a person who does good to your family. وَتَقُولُ الْحَقِّ. You are a truthful person. وَتَحْمِلُ الْكَلِمِ. You happen to help those who are in difficulty. وَتُعِينُ عَلَى نَوَائِبِ الدَّهْرِ. You extend a hand of help to those who are in need. Therefore, this cannot be from Satan. And this is the kind of the emotional support that we need from our wives so that we can progress. That is Khadija. That is Umm Khadija bint Khuwaylid radiyallahu anha. Financially, you know how much contribution she made. You know how she stood by the side of the Prophet during al-Hisar al-Shari, the social boycott. And what was her role when she was there? That is why, having been on the side of the Prophet ﷺ in all situations, here comes the divine assurance, the glad tidings from the heaven. One day, Jibreel ﷺ came to the Prophet ﷺ, this time not carrying the message of Quran, but it was like, Abdulhafidh Khadija. Take the message to Khadija, أن الله يبلغ السلام. SubhanAllah. That Allah is giving us salam. What a honor. ويبشرها ببيت في الجنة بقصر في الجنة لا نصب فيها ولا صب. Allah is also giving her the glad tidings that she had secured herself a palace in Jannah. In that palace, there is no noise, there is no fire. This was in appreciation of her service to the Prophet ﷺ. I was reading about one of the book, and the commentator on this hadith says, one of the reasons why Khadija radiallahu anha received such a honor, it is because أنها لم ترفع صوتها أمام رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. She never raised her voice before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As I'm concluding this presentation, as a wife, Khadija and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam were blessed with children. The 6 children that you know. But apart from being a mother, she was an educator. She was there for her children. That's why when you try to look at the history, when you look at the biography of the daughters, the likes of Zainab, who got married to Rabi' ibn al-Hakam, Rabi' ibn al-As, the likes of Fatima, who got married to Ali ibn Abi Talib, the likes of Ruqayya and Kulthum, who got married to Uthman ibn Affan, you'll find out that they were a good example of a good rearing, a good child bringing that came from the house of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot narrate the story of Khadija up to its end, given the time that I'm giving to you. Like any human being, time came that Khadija passed on. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. But even her passing out left an impact. That after passing on, the Prophet was so much emotionally touched, to an extent that that year was known as the year of sorrow. The message, what is your impact in your family? What does your family miss when you are not around? When Khadija passed on, the Prophet was so much emotionally stressed, to an extent that memories used to come back to him, to an extent that Aisha, who never shared the same marriage with Khadija, was envious of her. And the Prophet confirms, Allah has not given me the life of Khadija. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of my presentation, these are my recommendations. Number 1, how I wish Tampro can take a leading role in assigning academicians to write and publish biographies of prominent men and women around the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam for the benefit of the people of this century. Number 2, how I wish that preachers these biographies not for the sake of narrating stories, but for the sake of ibar and ibat, picking some lessons out of that. Also, we need also to study about what are the challenges facing our Muslim sisters to be like Khadija. Could we be the reason why they cannot be like Khadija as men? And finally, these and other presentations, I pray that they can be subjected to some academic vetting so that they can be published. I thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Asante sana Dr. Walusimbi. Thank you very much for that this presentation, Doctor. It's really the lives of so many of us. And Khadija, Allah she was and she is a role model to so many of our daughters, mothers, and sisters. So the thing is, if I may say, the thing is, Dr. Walusimbi, we might be having so many Khadijas in today's time, but maybe we might not be having so many Muhammad and the two other, not talking about the two other Khalifas, but the two other gentlemen who married Khadija before being married to the Prophet ﷺ. Because I believe there are some women who are ready even to give dowry to any gentleman for that marriage to happen. But the thing is, these gentlemen, are they ready? That is the thing. Another question, we just ended up by saying that we might be a reason to why they are not being Khadijas. Is that so? Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. Because some of these gentlemen here, I said some. Don't kill me about this. I just say some. There are ladies who are ready to do that, but these gentlemen, they are afraid because they have a woman or a wife in the house who doesn't want to co-wife or to do something like that. So at the end of the day, they'll just stay not married for a long period of time and will be pointing fingers to them, telling them that because you are landed, because you see yourself as professionals and you don't want to be married. Nafikiri zangu wengine watakuwa wanakubaliana na mimi. Si kweli? Wamekataa kukubaliana na mimi. Sasa wacha niingie upande wao. Anyway, for that few remarks.